Hello and welcome to our podcast this evening. Today we have Dave, Landon, and Jesse, and I, Ben. Well, let's get talking.
That was good.
That was
good.
That was good though. Really creepy.
Whoa, what'd you do to your hair?
Shut up.
Looks good.
I just didn't do anything.
Stop and appreciate how
You guys did that last
Jesse's
week.
hair is.
I didn't do it last week.
You didn't. You barely said
No,
a word
I
to
said
prove
it.
a point last week.
I'm gonna say it.
Yeah, I know you did, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome, Jesse. You're welcome. So we all recently saw the Hateful Eight. Yeah. The gunslinging, western, snowy, stormy, shooty, bloody thing. Okay.
Long movie.
Yeah, long movie. Okay. So, what are you guys' thoughts on that movie? Did we enjoy it, or did we hate it?
I think we all liked it.
I loved it. It was hilarious.
Jesse, you were asleep the whole time.
Yeah. I was asleep for I think the back half of chapter 3.
When did you
whatever
wake
it was.
up precisely? Do you remember?
They were in the cabin, and and the dude was making coffee or tea. I think it was coffee. I can't remember.
Is it when they started throwing up blood?
It was before that.
That probably would have been a really confusing part to wake up
what's happening?
to. Yeah. What did I miss?
But I didn't actually sleep. It was more of resting my eyes, but I still heard everything that was going on.
So how many minutes did you miss of the movie, would you say?
I don't know.
Probably 5,
Oh,
6.
okay.
Maybe.
So can you explain the plot
Yeah,
to us?
in order.
I just want to see what your comprehension of the film was after seeing it half asleep.
Okay, so the first part.
Spoiler warning.
Yeah, I'm too
Yeah,
worried about
spoilers.
that. People throwing up blood.
The first part of the movie was just like a span shot of or a pan shot of just snow and a dude walking in on a horse. And
Okay, so
Well,
plot
carriage and
means...
stuff.
Okay, that's a good
Plot means...
start, but it's gonna take a while.
Yeah.
Say
I don't want you to storyboard the
and
film.
then show a little bird in
Yeah.
the top of the tree.
Yeah. Fade from black into the close-up of a gravestone of Jesus on the cross.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
it pulls back kind of at a 45-degree angle to the right, very slowly.
And then
Takes
you see
about
the
2.5
carriage and
minutes. Now that's during the opening credits, so we're seeing all of the stars. We're seeing the director of photography, the costume, and the casting director and everything.
Person.
Okay, no. So plot. Do you know what plot is?
Yeah, it's just the
I don't remember
main points.
What was the basic premise of the movie?
What happened?
What
in
did
the
we
movie?
learn?
Yeah.
What was the valuable life lesson?
Plot is concrete things that happen in the film that is the way to explain the story.
I can think of one thing that I will probably never forget because I get sympathy pains every time I think about it. Samuel L. Jackson got shot in the nuts. It was the worst thing ever, and it's making me
Was that
cringe right now.
your favorite part?
That was the worst part in the movie
I thought it was.
ever because I get sympathy pains.
Dave, what was your favorite
with
part of the
things
movie?
like that.
Favorite part of the movie?
Yeah.
The puking blood all over the
That was
floor.
my favorite part. I don't know why. I really
Just that whole scene, or just
yeah,
them
the whole
puking?
scene. I don't know why.
I liked the whole intrigue of after they get to the cabin and really trying to figure out what is happening that's weird, because there's something that's up, but you really have no idea. The one Kurt Russell's character is convinced that someone there is in cahoots with his prisoner, but I think it was the intrigue of trying to figure out what's going on and what's happening, and so then once you learn that, it was interesting because then getting to see how you got there, I thought was pretty cool too.
It's cool how they did it. Yeah, showed you more information halfway through, or
Yeah.
the important information after. Actually, I have 3 favorite parts. So it's the blood throwing up part, the whole carriage ride in the beginning. I love that part.
Oh,
for
I
some
hated
reason.
that part.
I don't know. I just loved it. It really built the character.
There was a lot of great dialogue.
Yeah, a lot of great dialogue. It was awesome. And then the part where he's talking about the general's son talking about the black thing is in his mouth. just that part. You see the old man get upset. I don't know. I made it crawl over his hands and knees.
So why is that your favorite
And
part?
because it was bloated.
Yeah. That was Jesse's favorite part too.
I don't know why. Like, it was creepy and weird, but that's just what made it.
It was funny. It
was
was very
hilarious.
indicative of something that would happen in a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Oh, jeez.
And it was very Samuel L. Jackson too, because he always plays like those kind of crazy eccentric characters in his films. I feel like.
Yeah, Landon, what was your favorite part?
I just probably all the dialogue, like throughout the whole movie was all so well written. Like especially like the carriage ride. I like the part when the southern guy was Mannix or whatever, the sheriff was in there. And he said he was grateful for the ride, and then he went on some racist rant. And they got all mad at him. He's like, "As I said, I'm just grateful. I'm just gonna scoot up to this window here."
Just grateful to be here. That's all I'm saying.
Well, there was a lot of funny characters in the film. There's a lot of comedy in the different facets of those kind of weird characters, which you don't see a lot of comedy westerns.
No.
And so this one was really interesting because it was a comedy western that was extremely violent.
And I'd say the Chris Mannix, whatever the southern sheriff guy, was probably my favorite character in the movie.
He was pretty funny. He's kind of annoying, though.
Yeah, he's a little annoying, but part when he's like, "The ugliest one did."
Well, that's right.
The ugly.
Well, the thing is, none of the characters are ones you get attached to very much. There's not someone that's like, oh, they're clearly the good character. The closest would probably be Samuel L. Jackson's, but still, he's not like a terribly likable character. I mean, he's like a chronic liar, and he's still
probably been the carriage driver. Would have probably been
Obi, yeah, and he
Yeah.
dies like first.
But and he was also the most minor of characters because even in the credits, like he doesn't count as one of the 8. It was saying and playing OB is such and such because it gave all the 8 names.
Were they considering Channing Tatum then as the other?
I think so.
8th
Yeah.
one? Yeah. He was even probably more minor though than Obi. As far as screen time, he wasn't very much. Like I kept wondering, I'm like, where is Channing Tatum's character gonna be? And then he's like, and I'm like, no, poor Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, he wasn't in the film for very long at all.
Stop it!
It hurts. Freaking Jesse. Yeah. So, speaking of nut trauma. Do you guys have any times when you guys were hitting the nuts?
Oh, I actually do have a good.
Yeah.
I have a pretty painful one. When I used to do fencing, the Olympic fencing.
Oh,
Hitting the nuts with a sword?
Well, so
Flick
we were,
with a foil?
well, we were playing or doing the fencing, and I didn't have a cup on or anything for that. And this guy comes in and he hits me in the nuts and just keeps going with it. I'm just like. And I had to sit down for a few minutes because it hurt so bad, and I didn't feel better until the next day. It still ached for the whole night, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I'm going to have kids right now.
Yeah. You gotta be concerned.
Yeah.
Dave, do you have any? You've kept your boys pretty safe your whole life?
I've gotten kicked a lot.
What, really?
Yeah, in Hawaii there was this one girl who
What?
she liked to always kick me in the groin. And there was one, she bought steel-toe boots at one point.
Just for you, Dave.
Kind of.
And
she kicked me in the groin, and I yelled so loud because we were outside. She was my neighbor that lived across the street. She was a homeschool girl. I yelled so loud when she kicked me that her mom came outside and yelled at me for yelling so loud.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder where she learned that from. Probably her mom kicking the dad in the balls.
I don't think so. We were close friends. There was my brother and
What planet you from?
my brother and me were really close friends with her and her sister. And we kind of the whole time we lived there, we kind of went back and forth we all liked each other and
romance.
Yeah, and she was one of those girls that she showed her affection by physical violence, and so she kicked me in the groin.
I've never had that, Dave. I've only had girls that have kissed me on the cheek. never the nut cake.
Well, I was
that must be the most precious form of love.
I was 8
I
or
love
9
you so
at
much
the
that
time.
I don't even want children with you.
See, it's not to procreate. It's because I love you.
Yeah, I just want you.
Yeah.
I don't want any kids to get in the way.
Yeah. That must be what it is. But that happened a lot, actually, when I lived in Hawaii.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Did
funny.
she think it was funny?
Yes. It wasn't funny.
Tough life.
It hurt.
Wife. Okay. Jesse, you seem to have some experience or traumatic
Okay.
tension from
So,
the past.
freshman year of high school,
Oh, wait a minute!
I used to...
Wait!
It's the same girl!
No, wait, I forgot. Probably, I don't know why I didn't.
yeah.
I was gonna think...
Okay,
I was gonna say
Jesse-
bring up that story
Jesse,
too.
you-
Need me in the balls once. I think we were both in ninth grade. It was on Sunday at
In the
church.
middle of church.
In the coffee room. And I just walked up to Jesse and I was like, hey, we were just talking.
Here you go,
And-
friend.
And Jesse,
Grab.
there was these two girls in the coffee room, and I don't know if Jesse was
You
trying
wanted to impress
I don't know if he was
them.
trying to impress
I wasn't
them.
doing
And
anything.
so Jesse puts both of his hands on my shoulders, and he goes, "Hey, Dave," and he just like really hard, like brings his knee up,
See,
and it came right into like the apex.
lodged up there for a couple weeks.
And I fell to my knees
voice went back up to
in the
here.
ground, and I was going, "Oh!" And the girls were like, like, why did he do that? And Jesse was just laughing and laughing, and I was like, what is wrong with you, Jesse? What is wrong with you?
See,
The best part is, I only knew him for like a year and a half.
Well, so that's a pretty long time.
No, he knew me for
A
like
couple
2 years.
So here's my
3 years.
theory. It's kind of the same thing, Dave. He wants to be friends with you so much that he doesn't want any kids to know.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
No, it was just one of those things. It was like, hey, bam.
What inspired you to do that, Jesse?
I was bored.
That's horrible.
It's not like that was something like he did. Like that was his thing. Like I'd
Like-
never seen him do that to anyone
That's what I'm
else.
saying.
He had never done that to me before, but he just came up in church. It was in between services or before services. So there's all these people in the coffee room, and he just comes up and like right.
Man, you gotta watch out for that. That's why I don't trust anybody. I'm jumping right over. Stay away.
I have
Well, see, so if I'm ever like physically mean to Jesse, he can't get mad at me. He's not. He gets mad at me sometimes, and I don't think he has any basis for it, just because of that one transgression that he did against me.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, that's
It was
pretty
completely uncalled for and really hilarious at the time.
fair. It's great, Jesse.
Well, it was one of those things.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, you know.
But when I was a freshman in high school, I used to hang out with a crowd of people, and we all used to just go around nut tapping each other just for the kicks and giggles. And I remember one time we were all standing around the lunch table just having a conversation, and I went to like stretch my arms, and I went up like this, and my friend took his knuckles and just buried them in my nuts.
Oh,
Yeah, I had friends like that too.
I've never gotten like that. Like why people do that. Like
I don't get it.
It's
either.
not funny. Like I don't get it.
it hurts.
Yeah.
That's why I dropped out of school.
That's why.
Too many kids wanted to touch these. They just would have asked. All they wanted.
Please, just be gentle.
Yeah, just be gentle.
Just be gentle.
Oh.
Freshman year, man. A lot of stuff happened freshman year.
I wonder if I would have been abused more if I was in high school, or if I would have been a bully.
That's what I wonder, Dave.
Maybe-
I've actually been thinking.
Maybe
about
I
that.
would have been a bully.
I think you would have.
I think you probably would have.
Well, but in a different way, like mentally.
A psychological.
Yeah, a psychological bully. Yeah. No,
I'm gonna play you like Risk.
because I was never really a physical.
It's like you're Madagascar and I'm Asian.
I'm making 10 troops a turn, and your tiny brain's only making half a troop a turn. And you're putting it over on the other side of the board where it's not even useful. You idiot. Yeah, that's probably true. I was never... I didn't grow up really being a physical person because I was always so small, but I tended to use my words a lot. Not. I didn't swear.
You're a
But I
very
was-
verbally
I-
abusive person.
No, verbally abusive is not the right way to put it.
How would you
use
put
some
it?
words.
I see.
Weapons.
I used it more defensively a lot, and what it did is it built up my
Weirdness factor.
no. It built up my my defenses,
Self-consciousness? Oh.
and so I feel like I would have been fine against people who picked on me, and I feel like more what I would have done would have made them upset.
Gotcha.
If that makes any sense.
That's what,
Because it's really hard for someone to pick on me now, and that it's been like that way for.
Well, like once
for
you're
a
an
really-
adult, it's like kind of weird if someone bullies you.
No, but I mean, yes, that's true. But people still get bothered easily,
guess
even
so.
when they're older.
Yeah.
And I've been able to keep that in check for like 5 or 6 years now. So.
Yeah, you're pretty quick at the comebacks, so that's what taught you.
My class at college has been helping me with that because the teacher, like everybody there, are really awful human beings. So. You have to learn really quick that like you get called awful things and like made fun of.
What's the worst thing you've been called? No, you gotta say it.
I don't
Bring
think
it up.
it's suitable for
Just
podcast viewers.
say the last letter and the
We'll
first
bleep
letter.
it out later
Can't-
in post.
I can't. It's not really like specific things, but it's more like
Well, then tell us a story.
it's hard,
Story time with Landon.
it's hard to think of specific like things. He always jokes about everybody being gay or coming up and sucking his
Yeah.
like he does that.
Crawling on his hands, putting that big black dick. And it was warm because it was full of blood.
As your teacher said that to you, Walt?
Yeah.
It's almost like he saw Hateful
He
Eight
always
before
jokes about. He always describes like when he's telling us.
He's like, if you guys want extra credit,
Oh
No,
man.
he's not like that. We can't joke.
Come
About,
no.
we can't joke about that in our employment prep class either, because the teacher there would probably.
It's a girl, right?
Well, yeah, and her husband got fired for that.
oh right, Mr. Diddled kids or
Yeah.
Diddled people for
Mr.
scholarships.
Mr. Diddles.
Diddler. Diddly diddler.
The Diddler.
I kind of want to happen though, and that's if she ever decides to make fun of me in the class, be like, hey, that's not funny. And if she says I'm just screwing around, I want to be like, oh, that's
So
what your husband was doing.
See that? Then that looks like a quick quip. And
Zinger!
then, yeah. And then I get an F.
And then you're kicked out.
But it was funny. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I don't know.
that would be really bad.
But so
Don't
good.
say that.
It's one of those things that almost be funny enough, but not quite.
Well, is she an annoying teacher? Or?
No, she's all right. She's just like,
Cries all day.
yeah. I feel like she's brought up multiple times her personal life, like for stuff, and I'm like, nobody really cares. Like, I mean, like I hate.
She just
to
says
be
a bunch of passive aggressive things, and everyone's just doing work.
How many quarters have you had with her?
This is just only one. I only
Okay.
have one. But the other teacher I've had, this is my fourth, I think. But I mean, like, we've been around him for the whole program, so.
How long was your program, or is your program?
How long?
Yeah.
7 quarters.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's not
But
too bad.
it's just the only thing
Just
that
2 years.
yeah, the only thing that sucks about it is that like you're around the same teacher and the same people for like 7 hours a day.
Yeah, that would drive me
And
nuts.
if you're around that guy, he sounds like
Yeah, I mean, and he'll lecture sometimes like 4 hours straight with like a couple like 10-minute breaks in there, and you're at the point where you can't pay attention after like 2 hours. At least I
No
can't.
way. No,
And you're
I
just
I
kinda
stop
would
there
drive
like
me
30
nuts.
seconds. I'd be like,
But like, so like when he goes for 4 hours, and then he's like, all right, let's go to lunch and afterwards, and you guys can go do stuff in the lab. And it's like, well, my brain's already fried. I didn't listen to anything you said for the past 3 hours.
all right, I'll do exactly as I told you.
Yeah,
lunch break.
yeah. And then if you don't work during lunch break, he gets mad at you too. He's like, you guys really have to take an hour-long lunch? Huh? You really have to take an hour-long lunch? It's like, that's our scheduled lunchtime. You're sitting up there eating the whole time. And he'll like,
All right, classroom.
so sometimes he'll go like an hour and a half without like having a break, or 2 hours without giving a break. And like, probably a majority of the people in the class smoke. And
In class?
he smokes too, but he uses an e-cigarette and
Yeah.
he'll smoke in the classroom.
usually.
And other people in the classroom will smoke their e-cigarettes too. But like, there's people
Sounds
there
like
that
a
don't
good
smoke.
Quality place.
So like,
Well,
he'll make them go, and you can just see
don't.
them starting to like twitch and stuff, like they need their fix or whatever. And he'll just keep
Yeah.
going, puffing on his e-cigarette, looking
It's
at
like the
everybody.
50s.
And then one day in class, he lost his e-cigarette, and you could just watch minute by minute as he began to panic. Like there's like panic. I was like walking around, I'm like, guys, we have to find it. Or
Did one of the kids take it? Or
That's
were
what
you
he was
not
accusing
kids?
the Asian guy of taking it. He was like yelling, "You took it, you hit it,
You dang Japs!
Yeah.
I'm Korean!
No, he sat there in class once, and he was sitting there, and he just kind of had this like smug look on his face, and he's looking at the Asian guy. He's like, I wish it was the 50s, we could.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, when we could kill you, communists.
And
And he's like, you know where you would have been in the 40s, Locke? He's like, you know where you'd be at? And everybody's like, oh man.
I used to stack you guys up like sandbags.
And like he'd do that to the Russian guy too. He's like, back when I was in the military, we were trained to kill you guys. And then like
the
there
Russian
was
guy says, "Yeah, we were trying to kill you too."
Yeah. Well, then like the Russian guy was going to do a ride along with one of the previous students of the program that's from Ukraine, and one of the other teachers is like, "Now, Peter, when you're with that guy, don't start taking his stuff, and saying it's yours now." And like I'm like, "Oh man," and I'm like, this is so racist.
Don't kill his family and steal his lands.
Yeah.
Lands?
Land is
It's land.
That's what I said. I just didn't.
If you guys could go back to any era, so I was just thinking about the 50s. What era would you guys want to go back to?
Well, it depends. Do you mean living in the culture we do now, or do you mean...
Okay, Dave. World War II. Frontline infantry. Go.
No!
I used to say like I feel like I could have been a lot more like successful. Like I think it'd be easier to be successful in life earlier. Like
yeah.
because
Well,
you could
Really?
The middle class was a lot bigger 50 years ago.
But we have cooler stuff now.
But
Yes,
back then,
that is true.
back in like the early 1900s, all you needed was like ambition. If you had ambition, you could go places. Now there's like so many
Steps.
You got to have this degree, or you got to have this or that.
I guess
back
that could
then you
still
could just
be
go do
ambition.
it.
Maybe just a bit more. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Lately, when I was a couple weeks ago, I was thinking about this actually, and I was thinking about the 60s. I think the 60s would be really fun.
I would totally be an advertising. I'd live the Mad Men life. Like,
Well,
what's that?
it's just like an interesting time. There's so much happening at that time. So many social things going on
What
in the
time?
60s.
60s.
The 1960s, which is just really interesting and just world changing. I mean, the 20th century overall was a significantly changing century from just the way the world looked in 1900 compared to 2000 was just mountains different, as opposed to going from 1700 to 1800 or 3000 BC to 2000 BC. I mean, the amount of changes, not just technologically, that happened in that century were humongous. And I think it's kind of cool that we got to live through part of it. I mean, we were the very tail end, but Jesse and myself, when we were born, the Soviet Union was just ending. And so that's really crazy to think about how recent that was, that the USSR was
You guys
a
could have been
big power.
vaporized.
Yep. Well, my dad, growing up, he was born in the early 60s, so he was in high school in the 70s, and that's one thing that was kind of around them, was there was always this little fear of, are we going to get bombed?
Did he have to do bomb drills?
I don't know if he did at that point. That was more prevalent, I think, the decade prior.
In the 50s.
Yeah, the 50s and 60s. So he was about a decade behind that, but there still was that fear. The USSR at that point were really diminished. I mean, once Reagan came into power, they were really on the downside, on the downfall. But like the 50s and 60s, like the height of the Cold War, that would have been really interesting to live in. And that's a big reason I think I would like the 60s, because it's just kind of the intrigue of that, just what was going on in the world, as opposed to also just what was going on in the U.S. with everything. I mean, you think of like music, the changes in music in the 60s, like with the Beatles and stuff like that, how much of an impact that created, and how cool that would have been to see that kind of experience. Like, I mean, I don't think I would have wanted to go to Woodstock because it sounds like it was disgustingly dirty.
Yeah.
like it was like it's just like really gross. But that time, like reading about it in the news or something, like living at the time of that, being in
hippies,
being in a big city during the '60s, I think would be interesting. And I'd say probably the '60s.
Yeah, okay.
I'd probably say the 50s for myself, just because
white picket fence, dolled up wife
Dolled
with her
up
hair,
yeah.
2 children, Spike your dog, and then
mostly just because of the cars, really.
Oh, okay.
Like
I want to go back to like, I'm not sure what age or like what it is, but it's probably something. I'm just stupid with time zones and stuff. But back when everyone wore suits.
60s.
Yeah.
60s.
No. Like I want earlier than that.
Like
though.
the 30s.
That'd be
Yeah, I think around there.
30s, 40s.
Well, the 20s would be good because that's like the Roaring 20s. U.S. was doing really well.
Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah.
And the
30s might be a little
suits
bit harder because of the Great Depression
Depression.
and everything. But yeah, the 20s or the 40s that people wore suits everywhere, and even up until really kind of the 70s, and then that's
I want
when
to be
it
a wealthy
stopped.
man in the Great Depression. And
I want to be a wealthy man in the Great Depression.
that's what I'd want to be.
Flaunt my money over everybody
You sold
else.
all of your stocks like right before the crash in '29, and then you're like, "Oh, whoa!"
I didn't know.
you did some insider trading that it's like no one found out
Bet
about.
on sports teams. Just like Biff and Back to the Future.
20s would be interesting
it's
because of like prohibition and stuff like that. Also, movies were really huge at that time. With
They sucked.
well,
They didn't think that
they
back
were silent films, but
This is boring. You should see what I see.
hey, if you had lived at that time,
It
it
was
would have been
awesome.
so
Yeah.
fascinating to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
It was like if you living in the U.S. in the 20s, I think that's what we're talking about. If we were living in Russia during the 20s, like during the communist revolution, that would be awful.
horrible.
Yeah,
Actually, any time period in Russia would kind of suck.
Like
so.
Lenin coming to power,
Yeah.
that would be really bad.
Stalin,
But
your
yeah,
family like
Here's-
rats you out for a potato. It's like okay.
Nigga, I know. Another time zone that I'd want to go to would be like the carriages, the horse-drawn carriages. And they're still wearing suits, of course. But they had those like nice houses, and people actually like the women put on dresses.
like
Okay.
1890.
That were
You're
like
thinking, like-
expensive.
You're thinking like
Like in the-
Downton Abbey.
Yeah,
time
like,
period.
yeah, I
So
guess.
that's like that's World War One, right?
Yeah,
If you want to ensure that there's carriages, you probably want to do like late 19th century, so like 1890 or something.
Okay.
People, there's suits, but there's no automobiles yet.
Okay. Yeah.
I would say like I'd also go with I'd have like a few like 60s and America would be pretty good.
Yeah.
Could be Don Draper, smoke 3 packs of cigarettes a day.
I don't even know what cancer is.
Yeah, and then I think the Wild West would kind of be fun for a little bit.
Man, the
Well,
only
just-
thing I think is that you'd smell bad.
Oh yeah, you'd
everyone
smell
would be
awful.
filthy.
Like I don't know, like I guess in its more like just that whole thing, like even back then, like crazy stuff like could still happen. Like I mean, like shootouts and
Yeah.
stuff. Like you could,
Yeah.
and then like
And there's another
Settle
spot
arguments
of
with
like
duels.
yeah,
like taking a few steps that way and it's undiscovered.
yeah,
Like, no one's been there before.
like the Oregon, like
There's a rock
Oregon Trail and stuff, or like being out in California, Gold Rush and stuff.
Yeah.
I think living in a time where there's undiscovered things would be really cool. I think that's a cool point.
Well,
Because we
yeah.
don't have that anymore. I mean,
some Congo, like some stuff, jungles in Africa or South America.
But, I mean,
But there's dinosaurs there. We don't want to go there.
I mean, 100 years ago or 200 years ago, you think of still the amount of stuff that wasn't really
Yeah, it's weird.
charted, and it's kind of a bummer. The Age of Explorers would be really cool. All that's another one where it would just be really gross, and you don't live very long because you know
murder Indians
Yeah.
in South American jungles
yeah.
To fight a bear.
you
The Revenant.
get some nasty disease.
and then die. Well, something very simple that could be cured now.
Yeah.
Just die a painful death.
He's got the cold.
But like I don't know, the Wild West just like something
The
about
cold
like
took him.
you just
Not
have
the
like
snow,
a horse
just the
and
cold.
like it just be so. I feel like it'd be simple. like a lot. I mean, like it'd be hard to survive.
Well,
Well,
I think part of that is, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but this is my thought, is that part of it has to do with kind of
what media is showing us.
no, a reduced structure. So like you think of the Wild West as it's wild, and there's martial law, and there's not, it's not structured society like we have now, which is what we've known our entire lives. And sometimes I think that's something that we might yearn for, like like you think of Fallout, and there's something about it. It's like that would be interesting to experience a world like that where there is
settlements. Though.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
not hoping
it takes too long.
Where it is, we got another settlement.
Yeah. I got something else for you. It's like, no, shut up.
Can you kill Preston? Can you kill him?
No, I tried.
Did you really?
Yeah, he just goes unconscious, and then everyone in the town attacks him.
Even if you use the experimental nerve, he just pops back up.
Yeah.
But I think that would have something to do with it.
Yeah,
The Wild West is like that. But the Wild West is like the epitome of where we were with technology when we still were kind of that sub-social society. So, we had guns, you had pistols.
Everybody carried around.
Yeah. You weren't carrying around like a slingshot or a bow and arrow. So I think having the epitome of technology up to the point of still having that kind of wild nature, and just the kind of the horses and from what we've seen from movies really has helped it.
You gotta be careful.
They make it an idealized world, and so that's what we long for today.
I guess Back to the Future, he went back and he was wearing like a pink vest.
I just
water
think
was brown, and the rabbits had bullets in it still.
I just think sometimes like everything day to day life, like where we're at, just kind of gets mundane sometimes.
Yeah,
and back then they would think the same thing, but like
no, I don't know, because I think men, that's something that like at least I crave for. Like I would love to like know how to live out in the wild and like be able to kill my own deer.
Ben and I were just talking about that yesterday.
People.
Have you? Hey Landon, have you read My Side of the Mountain?
No.
Oh, okay.
Good book.
Yeah.
Jesse?
What's it about, Dave?
It's a good book.
I know you're dying to.
Well, I read it like 15 years ago, but it's an interesting book.
It kind of sounds like I may have heard.
This guy. He's basically a kid. He goes out to live in the wilderness. He goes into the forest basically, and he tries to see how long he can live in the forest or something. But he builds a little house and everything, and he just does all these little survival things. It's a small little book.
I think I may have read this book. This was probably like on one of those like top 25 homeschooler books.
Probably,
like
yes.
Yeah.
Like, My Side of the Mountain.
I think I have probably read that.
But it's a really short book too, and it was one that Ben yesterday we were talking about. Like, wouldn't it be fun to just go out and kind of live on your own, kind of just in the wilderness, like going out into the like the deep forest of Colville or something, and just finding your own little sanctuary, building this a little hovel or something, and just living off of yourself, off of your own power.
I think that's why a lot of people like love Minecraft, because I think a lot of people still want that exploration.
They don't want the darker side of it, like Daisy, where people murder you.
Yeah, I forget about that.
Or dysentery.
Yeah.
I feel like if I was
diarrhea again, no.
I feel like if I was
dehydrated because you poop too much.
I feel like I'd die so fast if I was living out on my own, like in the wilderness. Like I'd probably be doing okay now, like trip, fall, like break my leg, and be like, no,
it's the end. Or some people surround you, make you take off your clothes, and bring you to a church and shoot you in the back of the head.
That's Daisy. That was my first out heard Daisy, and I was like, I had to turn the game off for a while. I was like, man, that was messed up. It's like,
they shook you up.
Yeah, they started force feeding me stuff like in the game, like they handcuffed me and were like force feeding me like poison and stuff. And then I'm like looking around, I have this other lady on their knees in the church, and I just see them put a bullet through her head, and I'm like, And I tried to run for it, and I heard like one gunshot, and it pops on the screen, you were dead. And I'm like, I'm like, this game's messed up.
That's really funny.
And but like it's like one of those games like I could see myself becoming like the type of people
that'd be so much fun.
We should all get that game though.
I know,
and roll around together.
That's what I was saying.
I think it's coming out for PS4 eventually.
Oh no!
Well, it's on PC.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you don't have. Well, you do.
It works.
Buggy as all get out. Like the last time I played it, it was still in alpha.
Have they?
It's fixed now.
They keep
There's
they
a lot
keep
of
rolling out, but I think it's still in alpha stage 2.
But yeah, if we rolled around together,
That'd be kind of.
we could.
I would
force
be.
people-
We could
I would
start
be
our own
sadistic.
cult.
I would be as sadistic as all get out.
I would
too.
We could fulfill our sadistic
Well,
dreams.
I'd break people's legs and have them like race to crawl to like so the winner lives.
The
unless
winner gets to crawl away, doesn't win.
unless we experience some crazy nuclear, future, then DayZ might be the closest we can get to our
I was talking to-
crazy fantasies for a while.
I was talking to this Mexican guy at my school, and he's really quiet. We were talking about something. He mentioned that he wouldn't mind living in a post-apocalyptic world, and the way he said it, he's really quiet. I'm like, oh. And he's talking about guns and people taking them. He's like, yeah, they're not gonna take mine. He's like, I got hollow points too. He's like, bleep, they're bulletproof vests. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, all right, that's cool.
Man.
So you either need to become good friends with him or never talk to him again.
Actually, my thing though is
Everyone thinks you're gonna live. At least, I bet 3/4 of us are gonna die.
Well,
Jesse's gonna live.
Any kind of post-apocalyptic situation.
I would probably die in
I feel like
in that situation.
I feel like any post-apocalyptic situation, the first couple weeks are just chalked up to luck.
Yeah.
Like Risk.
Well, I mean, if you're in an airport or if you're in a crowded area when something breaks out, if it was a zombie apocalypse, you're just gonna die, because you're just not gonna be in any position. But
You'd probably be trampled within the
you
first
get
couple
lucky.
days, just because.
Climb up on top of the shelves. I guess. I don't know.
Just, grab a plane and fly it away.
You can climb up the shelves. And just
But I mean,
wait
I'm just
there.
saying, any of
Just
that kind
lay
of
up
stuff's
there.
luck. But I mean, I feel like me and my craziness, there'd be a few people from my school, if it started breaking out, I'd probably try to off them real quick. That really annoying guy in my class, it's just stupid as all get out. I'd probably try to off him.
Turns out he turns to be your best friend.
No, I would kill him. I would rather die alone and sad than be with him.
He'd be like Jamie Lannister, you really hate him for the first 2 books, and then in book 3 you're like, hey, he's actually cool.
This guy is the worst. So he had a girlfriend, and he lived with his girlfriend, who lived with her parents and stepdad along with his younger brother. So they're all just living in this house together, which is it's cool, whatever, do your thing. But then his girlfriend breaks up with him, cheats on him or whatever. They break up, but he's still living at the house with her and her new boyfriend. They're all living there together. And I'm like, what's wrong with you?
That's creepy, man.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, you can move out with him, right?
No. I gave him a ride once back to his house one time because he didn't have a ride or something. His car was broken down. And then the other day he asked me, he's like, hey Landon, can you give me a ride back real quick if you're heading up? And I was just like, I'm going a bunch of other places before I go home. And I just screwed him over.
Well, see, the thing is you just need to stay away from people that are named because
My dad's name.
But you
Stay away from
call
him.
him a nickname. You call him something else.
Yeah,
right?
you call him Daddy-O.
No, what do you call him? You call him
Well,
Jimmy.
my mom and dad, everybody called him Jimmy. It's weird. My family's weird.
Well, why Jimmy?
It's not
It's
weird.
a long story. It was
It's
my
fine.
my dad, my little sister he'd play with her outside, and they'd do a fake kitchen thing, and he'd go by an Italian Jimmy, little Jimmy, and whatever. And then
Jimmy's not
everybody
Italian.
decided they want to call him Jimmy, so it's okay.
Why are you George, Landon?
Is that reenacting? Didn't I think. I
Oh
already-
yeah, Civil War.
Yeah.
Sorry, you told me.
I don't really want to go by George, though, but people keep calling me that. My family members. I'm like, what?
You don't want to go by it,
Is
but
that
you're
your
okay with people
name
calling you.
at
It's
all?
my nickname. It's just a nickname.
It's not your middle name?
No.
Oh, okay.
I hate my middle name. My middle name's trash. It's horrible.
Was that one of those?
Landon Trash
Was that one of
Browning.
those that you said we'd never guess and you were right? That
Landon
we,
Yeah, you guys
Garbanzo.
never- Well, no, I think Brenna guessed it summer camp.
What was
After
it? What was
45, 50 minutes. It was Delaney. It's Delaney.
That's your middle
Oh, because
Yeah.
she guessed
I
Delano,
like that's a cool
right?
name. Delaney?
I don't like it.
No, that's
it's
so
a girl.
cool.
It's a girl's name.
Landon
It's not a
Delaney.
girl's
Nah,
name.
Delaney.
Delaney's cool.
You can
Delaney,
call-
get over here. It's like a newspaper.
Courtney, come here.
Yeah, yeah.
It's my,
We need
my-
copy on this.
my
Stop.
Quentin Tarantino name if I'm ever in a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Delaney, yeah.
Would
yeah.
you guys act in a Quentin Tarantino movie if you offered to?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would.
Oh, it's
I would
not like
act
you're
in
actually
I would
getting
act in
hurt.
basically any movie.
Yeah, jeez. If they wanted me, we got a perfect role for you. Okay.
You're the guy that crawls through the snow.
Never mind. Ow, how much do I get paid?
You gotta show your junk.
How much would you guys have to get paid to do that?
I don't know. That's a good question.
$1,000.
You do it for $1,000?
That's pretty low.
Really?
4 figures?
No, not $1,000.
6 figures?
Well, yeah, of course.
6 figures?
Of course.
Okay, let's. Okay.
5 figures?
Like, moral wise.
Probably.
You guys think they're, like, is that, like, moral?
It's not immoral. It's nothing.
I mean,
there's nothing like
immoral
sexual
to be
about it.
naked
No one's
on
gonna
camera?
see my naked body on screen and have sexual thoughts, so everyone's just go, ah!
Yeah, no. It's only immoral
Yeah.
if people are lusting
Yeah,
at you.
yeah. If I'm handsome.
There are such things as stunt butts, apparently, according to friends.
Stunt butts?
That
Yeah.
was the stunt person. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'll use a stunt butt, but the front was
Front's all real.
Yeah.
Don't need a stunt double for that.
There was an episode of Friends where, which is where I got the whole stunt butt thing.
That just sounds weird.
And?
Just in it, Joey Tribbiani is trying to be that guy. He's trying to be an actor, and the only work he can get is to play people's the rear end of people. So he basically got paid to be a person's stunt butt in movies, and that was his claim to fame. In the show.
That'd be a great.
He would just get casting calls for
Joey?
stunt butts.
Is that you? Look at that butt. That butt's familiar.
I recognize that butt anyway.
Okay, I'd say 10,000. I'd do it.
You took 10 grand?
Yeah.
5.
I'm way too self-conscious.
Wait. Are we talking about how much we pay, or
How much we paid to
How
see
much?
that?
How much
or-
would you get? How much would you?
oh, not how much we would have to pay
How much-
no.
to? Oh,
How much would
Oh.
you get paid to do that?
Oh, I don't know then. I don't know.
I
You don't know?
I'm way too self-conscious. I would not be able to.
I'm self-conscious, but when
doesn't
I
matter.
start adding money to the faction, that kind of goes away.
But you're naked walking
I'm
down the
still-
snow behind a black guy. There's a black guy in back of you with a gun, and you have to go crawl into the snow over that big black dingus. And it's warm because it's full of blood. He's laughing hysterically. Okay, $20,000.
What was it? What was he saying? He's like, white mouth, black teeth.
I think my favorite line from that movie was the one about the pushing down the steps.
Yeah, the old man. Say it.
Oh well, what was it? It
You
was
can push an old man down the stairs, but you can't just shoot.
Yeah, you can't just shoot him.
Then Landon's was this 4 bullets and seniors. What was it?
I can't remember how it was like 4
bullets.
measly bullets and Senior Bob was gone.
It had some just really funny moments.
Times.
I did not like the beginning of that movie at all.
Really?
That was the best.
What, when he was beating that lady
Yeah,
up?
I didn't. I
She's a psychopath.
I hate. Well, it's one of those things where, I just don't like violence toward women in any
But you
way,
love
shape,
Dexter?
or form.
Is that show good?
Yeah, I have the first 6 seasons.
I've heard the ending, the last few seasons aren't good, or are they?
Well, I've seen it all, and
Lumberjack spoilers.
I watch it every once in a while, but I don't like how the show ended, just because I liked one of the characters
No spoilers.
in it. But if you want to watch, I have.
I think it's on Netflix. Actually.
Yeah, it is.
So,
That's.
but
What do you mean, but?
Go back to butts again.
stunt butt, Jesse
Still,
Bich.
but.
But you, so
I-
you like Dexter, but you don't like the beginning of Hateful Eight.
Because of the abuse, and it was the thing that made me.
But Jesse, she obviously liked it. Did you see her smiling?
And she's a murderer.
She was
That's
crazy.
why.
Yeah,
Her character was crazy.
That,
Yeah.
I don't
This guy threw
necessarily
her
care. I don't
favorite part.
Well, when the guy got his brains
violence
blown out.
toward women is the worst thing.
His
It's
brother. That's the only
the
time she
easiest way to upset me, and the thing that upset me most
about that movie is when he just like took his elbow and like broke her nose. That made me like that.
Did you have a problem when they hung her in the end?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, I don't like.
What about Senior Bob, who got his like head blown off? Come on, Jesse.
Hell, he's laughing at that.
You see how many guys died in that movie? You're a white.
Well,
knight.
actually,
I just
to be honest, every character in that movie died.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, unless
What about the blonde girl?
I didn't.
that part actually probably bothered me more than the other lady getting punched up the whole time, like the stagecoach blonde chick that was.
Yeah.
The Australian girl?
That probably bothered me more than like any of the violence against the main girl, just because it was like she was actually like a nice person. Yeah. All the people that got murdered in that scene were pretty nice people.
I just don't. Like
yeah, they all were.
They were all like really nice. She's like, oh, happy. Oh, comedy is the best. It's like,
yeah, jeez.
Why did they call you 6-horse Judy or whatever?
Because I know.
Okay, so what about the portions in the beginning? Because the beginning of the film was really long, where they're in the carriage. There wasn't a lot of time where he was actually physically hurting her. So was it just that little part that bothered you, or was it just that the talking was really boring and so that bored you?
No, it was just the violent part of it. Was
I heard you mention
made
like in the movie, like when it was happening, he's like, I hate this guy. I hope he dies.
I hated him so
And
much.
he did die.
Yeah, he did.
Very brutally.
But I just don't like violence toward women in any way, shape, or form. So.
Well, that's understandable. I also don't like that, but she was kind of subhuman. Also, it's a movie. Like, I'm not gonna go out and beat women. And
that's what I felt
in real life, if I see someone, a woman getting beat up, I'd like to think that I'd go over and like step in.
Hey,
but since I'm watching the movie, it's like it's a different experience. You're separated from it on multiple different levels. First of all, it's a movie. You can't literally step in and do it. Second of all, you don't know the character well enough from that point because it's the beginning of the movie. And third, she was a terrible person. She was a murderer and the leader of a gang. Arguably, I would say she was the leader more than her brother.
Yeah.
I think subtext of it was that her brother was more like the figurehead leader of the gang, but she was really the one who was calling the shots.
He died like a punk too.
Which is the whole reason they went through all that trouble to go get her. Yeah.
Plus, she was pretty annoying.
The guitar. He smashes it.
I have a question. Okay. So, you're walking on the streets just by yourself, and you see a guy, like, kind of, like, beating up on a girl, kind of pushing her, like, yelling at her, stuff like that. Would you guys would stop that, or try to, or, like, think about stopping her, right?
I would try.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's flip it around.
There's no question.
You're walking around, you see the girl beating up on the guy, and she's, like, pushing him, tugging, like, pulling his hair, like...
I would still step in.
Okay, I like that, Jesse.
Yeah.
I like that.
Like...
I'd probably be like, hey, is everything alright? You know?
Yeah, see, I watched, they did a Facebook study, it was, like, some, like, video on Facebook, and they did that exact test, and people were jumping in to stop the guy. They were, like, trying to fight the guy. And, like...
Didn't Fusi... I think it was Fusi too.
I don't know, but then with the girl, and people were, like, laughing at the guy, like, oh, look at you getting beat up, and then they helped the girl, they pushed the guy. It's like, I don't get that. Like, I get it, but it's just, like, just doesn't seem right, I guess. I think I like the fairness, I guess. Jesse,
I'm one of those guys that, like...
I wouldn't help either one.
Like,
I'd film it.
Yeah. I equally help nobody.
Like,
I like that.
I knowingly, like, I know I would get my butt handed to me.
Your stunt butt.
But
You're like, hey, stunt butt, I need you to go over there and get kicked for me.
Not the moneymaker.
But it's just one of those things where, like, I would step in knowing full well that there's a strong possibility that I would get my butt handed to me.
Yeah.
For it.
But
I would still... it being a girl, there's two different...
You go about handling
two different approaches.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
okay. So there's just always going to be a bias there.
Yeah.
That's just no way around it. Just kidding.
But, I would step in either way.
Well, if a guy
Doesn't
was like
necessarily matter.
beating up on a girl, I would definitely step in to help her if she was pretty.
That's not superficial at all.
You have a girlfriend.
And if a girl was beating up on a guy, then I would step in to help if she was pretty.
If she's
You help her beat him up.
That's funny, Dave. That's funny. That's funny. Oh man. Okay.
See, with the violence towards women in that Hateful Eight, though, like at first, like when Kurt Russell's character was hitting her, I kind of cringed a little bit. But towards the end of the movie, like when they're hanging her, or like any of the violence towards her, towards like as the movie progressed, didn't really bother me at all because I realized she was like absolutely like.
You kind of feel like clapping at that point. You're like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, man, she's dead! Jeez, finally!"
Yeah. Well, I don't know. And like she saw that coffee get poisoned, let them drink it, and it's like.
Yeah, I like that one part. The character's like, you were gonna watch me drink.
Well, you think he's gonna say like he's gonna make the deal. Yeah. He's like, no deal, no deal. And he goes on his big rant, and he's like, I don't feel so well.
White boy,
Yeah.
get up, white boy.
Yeah, that was a good part. Yeah, and she hacked that guy's dead arm off with like a knife, just to...
Yeah.
But
Crazy.
I like the part when like the whole coffee thing was happening. They're all like coughing blood all over the place. Everybody's
It's
watching.
not even coughing. It's like
Spewing
spewing.
out. And then she just like, and he tells him it's the coffee, and the guy just like throws it down, and he's like trying to wipe it off his hands.
Yeah.
And then like everything's quiet, and then she shoots Kurt Russell's character in the gun. He's just like, oh my god.
What time is it?
It's like
7:40.
7:40 something.
I think you need to watch some other Tarantino movies though.
I want to. Yeah.
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, Pulp
Doesn't he have a lot of?
Fiction.
Aren't they?
Kill
Aren't
Bill.
they?
I really want to watch Inglourious Bastards again,
Aren't a
just
lot of
because
them
since I've been
on-
doing all the World
We
War
should watch them
II
together.
stuff.
Netflix?
Yeah, I'll watch that with you.
Aren't a lot of them on Netflix?
I think so. Yeah,
Almost all of them.
and I have Inglourious Bastards on DVD.
Cool.
That one's good.
But yeah, I'd say this was probably one of the funniest ones.
I really thought Pulp Fiction was
A
funny.
lot of them have humor, but like this one, I think was a lot funnier. I don't know if it's just because I had more context for Tarantino movies, and so but for me, I think it was by far the funniest I'd seen. It's not my favorite, but as for like laugh out loud humor, there was a couple moments where it was just really funny for me.
Yeah. I got
Well, all the characters were so like diverse. I felt like I love the part when they're in the carriage in It's Dead or Alive, and Samuel Jackson's like, sounds like a lot of work for whatever. And then they have that part, and then when they get in there, and the English guy mentions it right off the bat, or all the parts when the door blows open, they're like, you gotta put a second one, two more. And then seeing how that came about in the flashback to that scene where the guy shot the part off the door, it's just funny.
Yeah.
But the ones I've seen Pulp Fiction, Inglourious Bastards, Django Unchained, and then Hateful Eight. And I'm not sure, it's either Pulp Fiction or Hateful Eight is probably my favorite, followed by Inglourious Bastards. And then I like Django Unchained a lot, but
You haven't seen Kill Bill?
no, I haven't seen either Kill Bill.
We should probably. That's one thing we.
Oh,
That's
you
one we
wanna
could
watch
probably
that?
all watch together is Kill Bill, because that one's a little bit shorter. It's not like one of his really long ones, because that one is split up technically into two.
Do they kind of
two
run
parts?
together, or?
Yeah. The second one's a lot slower. It has a much different feel than the first one. I like the first one. I would watch the first one again, but the second one, it's like, okay, unless I have nothing else to do, then I probably wouldn't watch
Yeah,
the
we
second one
should
again.
definitely watch
But
it.
but that one's fun, and that one's fun to watch. It would be a fun one to watch together too, because it's not too long.
Cool.
But that's a good like starting one. Well, a lot of them are good kind of
I
introductory
started
into
with
his
Pulp
kind of.
Fiction. I loved it. Like I was going back and forth. Should I watch Inglourious Bastards or Pulp Fiction? My dad's like,
Watching all of them though, I think it would be really weird to have Hateful Eight be the first Tarantino movie I saw. I feel like I'd be really confused.
I wasn't confused. I was like,
maybe
yeah.
maybe you're just twisted and messed up.
you'll if you like that movie, you'll like all the other ones.
Yeah,
'cause they
if
have
you
the
like that,
same
yeah.
vibe.
It didn't even bother me. Like I was fine.
Yeah. Well, that's like the vibe with all of them. Like, I think that's the most violent one, actually. Honestly, I don't know. I haven't seen Kill Bill or like Reservoir Dogs, but
They're all. I mean, it's different kind of violence.
because like Pulp Fiction, there's just a couple parts that are violent. That one's not that.
Django Unchained, that whole
Yeah.
shootout.
Yeah.
That's really
that.
I
bloody.
want to watch that one. I heard that one's pretty bad.
That one
Wasn't that one on Netflix?
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Bad like
Is
what?
it?
Bad as in
like really violent.
Oh yeah, it's pretty violent.
I like the way you die, boy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like
That one you also see a dingus, but it's a black dingus.
It's also hanging upside down.
Oh man.
What's the actor's name that plays the bad guy in Glorious Bastards and plays the guy in Django? And
Christoph Waltz.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Oh,
in both
he's
those movies.
so
he's awesome.
yeah. Oh man, Tim Roth in Hateful Eight reminded me a lot of Christoph Waltz in
like,
in
Django?
Inglourious Bastards
Oh,
or Django. Just like the way he approached the character. But I like Christoph Waltz. I mean, he won Academy Award for both of those roles for his one as the SS and then whatever he was in Django.
Did you feel like Inglourious Bastards was a little bit more serious than the other ones, or did you find it not to be more serious?
I felt I think a little bit just because of it's happening in Germany during the war, and I think that has a different feel on it. It still is kind of funny, but there's the different that one kind of has.
It's more subtle.
It has that love story kind of subplot with the German guy and then the attendant at the theater, which there's not a lot of comedy in that, and it's kind of this little subplot. And then even the way the movie starts, it's not funny at all.
That movie,
that's a really tense beginning, but it has that slow burn that Tarantino scenes have a lot though, and so that scene I really really like, but there's nothing funny in that scene, but it's such a really great scene, and but it's really long.
You should. That one's really good. I really like that one.
That's my favorite by far. I would say is.
I think that one even is more slower paced. It's probably like the slowest paced one.
Yeah, it's pretty slow, but all the stuff with Brad Pitt is really funny in that movie.
Yeah.
Just his contrast to all the Jews that are with him is really funny because he just has this thick Southern accent, and he's just talking about killing Nazis and stuff. And there's a portion where he goes, he's pretending to be, I think, an Italian guy, but he's like buongiorno. He can't speak in an Italian accent, but he only knows a couple words. So he's all dressed up and he's like really badly playing this trying to hide the fact that he's this American guy, and he has the other guys with him to go kill or try to kill Hitler. So
gotcha.
But
I feel like all of his movies have like some weird, or at least a few of them have like this guy that just does not feel like he should be in the movie. Like Inglourious Bastards, like BJ Novak's in that movie. Like
yeah, he's one of the Jews.
And then like in Django Unchained, like Jonah Hill's in it for like 30 seconds. He's like in that movie, and then like Channing Tatum didn't feel like didn't feel like a role that he typically like play in.
Yeah, that was a different role for him.
Yeah.
Who was he?
He was the brother.
Oh, okay.
Got his brains blown out.
Yeah.
I was like happy when that happened because I was like,
I wasn't surprised by that though.
I was just like, why aren't they going to do it? Like, that's what you should do.
I was like, why hasn't it happened yet? I was so surprised. I thought he was going to come up and right away Samuel L. Jackson was going to blow his head off.
He was giving himself up.
It took too long. There was the part where he's like, if you guys don't tell me who poisoned the coffee, I'm going to have to kill her. And then he's like 2 seconds later, he's like, all right.
Well, if someone shot me
why are you looking at me?
Yeah, in the genitals. Then
I would have killed everybody in that room.
Yeah, I feel
probably.
like I wouldn't have had a lot of...
You'd have passed out. No way. You'd be dead.
Probably, yeah.
But we're not Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, we're not, so that's why we die. What time is it, Dave?
It's the worst. It's 8 o'clock.
It's 8 o'clock? I think it's time to end it. Alright?
Just
All right.
kidding. It's 7:50.
Alright, we're ending it. Alright.
Gonna sign us off.
Well, yeah, this has been whatever our group's name is. What's our name? We didn't know the name yet.
We still haven't
Yeah,
decided
we
on
still-
something. We've had weird different
How about
ideas.
the other guys?
But I haven't...
The
Have
other
you guys
guy?
really thought
It's a
about
movie.
a name? Because I haven't...
No, I just can't.
No.
I've thought about it every once in a while, but I can't think of anything.
It'll come
that's,
to
like,
us.
good.
It'll come to us. Okay, well, this is us.
Black Dinkus. All
Yeah,
right.
This is us signing off. This is Ben.
Jesse.
Landon.
And David.
All right, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.